Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityurma mritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. From the unreal, lead us to the real. From darkness, lead us unto light. From death, lead us unto immortality. Peace, peace, peace. Good morning, everyone. And yes, lovely morning. We are expecting rains. How? That's the nature of the world. The topic today is demystify yourself. Well, the topic says it all. We humans are kind of very curious creatures, and we also like our thrills. And we have been mystery mongering because of these two traits for centuries and millennia. And everything about the world is kind of shrouded with mystery. It's the external world, our neighbors, our partners, kind of mysterious people. The most mysterious thing in this world is us, obviously. And obviously also, we are mysterious to others. There's a kind of a disconnect between what we present and what is understood. And sometimes we represent ourselves correctly, sometimes no. There are so many factors that are kind of involved in simple interaction with people and the world. I use a term in the sense of something that's difficult to understand or explain. That's mystery. At the same time, we have been delving into nature and into our own minds and bodies for centuries and centuries, thousands of years, trying to understand what we are, trying to roll back the darkness. We cannot say we do not know anything. We know plenty. Yes. And yet at the same time, we can't be really sure that this is the final frontier. No. It keeps on shifting. It's like the horizon. Nobody can ever say they do know everything about this quantum world or about the cosmos. Yet, we are, as I mentioned before, a curious creature, and we are hoping for this light of understanding. This is what drives all human endeavor, trying to push itself in the areas of the unknown, making the unknown knowable. So when I say everything in this world is the subject of mystery, I mean everything. I'll take a few salient points to highlight my talk, and maybe we can kind of demystify ourselves in the process. I'll take the nice ones first. Evil. What is this evil? And we have been struggling to encounter, grapple, understand, and overcome. All religions have been kind of important where they're trying to understand evil or trying to counter evil. Why does evil exist in this world? There is no answer. A stupid virus like the coronavirus there can wipe us all out here. What did we do wrong for this kind of killing? Is it justified? No, there are no answers. And yet we know we can recognize evil. Wars and plagues and pandemics and lies and corruption. It's there. It's all around you. We are living in a kind of a sane and insane world. Yeah. And people have been trying to overcome this evil. Religions have given some kind of palliative solution. Okay, everything will be okay when you go to another place. This place, of course, is evil. Yeah, but why was it created like this? Swami Vivekananda one time, he quotes John Stuart Mill saying, "This is the devil's world. I could have created a better world." And Sri Ramakrishna says he kind of was taken aback, saying, "How much of the world do you know to say this?" Yes, we hardly know why there is evil. Yet, we are faced with this fact. We will have to grapple with that. And that's another thing that humans are good at, grappling with evil. And at the same time, creating more evil. We'll say, oh, evolution will take care of it. It slowly kind of will remove off all the kind of bad traits, and we will evolve into higher and higher beings. Well, that's a far cry. You've got to wait for probably 1,000,000 years. Well, evil. That's another thing that impels humans are love. Love and peace and quiet and calm. Yes, what is love? We all have experienced it. And we all have experienced the other face of love, disillusionment. All the worst things can come out of love, and all the noblest sentiments can also come out of love. It is so ennobling, and yet it's so degrading. Peace? Oh, we've been searching for peace for a very, very, very long time. There is no one who is in peace, because the nature of this world is struggle, fight, conquer. It's not meant for babies who look for peace. If you look for peace, you won't find it here. There's another place, of course, you will find it. It's not a post-mortem state, however. I'll come down to that. Language. Wow. We just heard some very beautiful music. Yes, music is a language. Art is a language. Dance is a language. The body movements are a language. It's as if we are structured to do that. The earliest art forms were found in kind of burial places, tombs, where bones were fashioned beautifully. You have rock art, we have cave art, we have all types of art. We are trying to represent reality, art and poetry and music and dance. We can dance. See how beautifully we can dance. But we find dance also in nature. Animals and birds dance. Well, what about us? Yeah, we also dance. Music, there's a kind of a music of the spheres. The old Greeks, music is kind of wrapped in this universe. The old Indian system of ragas, which is also, of course, the current traditional system, was you listen to nature. In the morning, nature sounds differently from what it sounds in the afternoon. And they replicated this in their instruments. So one time Swami Vivekananda was asked, kind of curious, saying, why do you play that same music in the morning and the afternoon and the evening? Well, that's music. Oh, in India we don't have that kind of stuff. We have different ragas, it's called ragas and raginis, tunes, for every part of the day, and for every mood also. So, yeah, it's a very powerful medium. We are whipped either into frenzy, or it makes us so good, feel so good and calm and uplifted. Yes. The mind itself has a kind of a structure to understand music, and it goes across every culture. There is no mind that cannot understand music. You play a wrong note and there. In fact, if anyone sang a wrong note, Sri Ramakrishna's Samadhi, which he was prone to get into often, it used to kind of snap and used to come down. He's saying, stop that music. And music and dance has been used by religions to attain to kind of higher states of consciousness. Yes, every religion uses this. The music so soothing, so beautiful. And when you start increasing the tempo, there you get into a kind of it holds your nerves, it gets into a kind of a frenzy, and higher and higher and higher can we go. So music also is the highest form of art. And it can directly lead you to God, as Sri Ramakrishna says. Yes? Well, what is music? Sound, language. That's another part of the strangeness of language. What really is language? With our cognitive development, we have been kind of unraveling this for the last more than 100,000 years. Language has played a crucial part in our development. Besides, language also molds our cognitions. You hear a word and there you understand things. In India we had this, the sound is always associated with an idea and the knowledge flashes. So Shabda, Artha, Jnana. So these three things are very distinct. They come so fast, and this is the structure of the mind. Language. We can understand anything through language. Of course, there's a language of silence also. You keep quiet and you can understand also. In fact, one of the hymns to Shiva is a young boy is a teacher and a student is an old man. And the young teacher is teaching in silence, and all the doubts of the student are dispelled. Yes, at a deeper level, language stops and we can communicate in silence. It's a very powerful tool. But of course, music and dance and dramas and has engaged humanity. But what really, how do words that enter into your brain, how is it translated? The brain, if you do not know, it's dark inside, okay? Yes, there's no light inside. It's a dark place, and it's a wet place also. And made of squishy material. and it gobbles up energy. What's happening there? No one knows. Really. And neurologists and psychologists have been delving and poking and piercing. Well, they say all the consciousness is here. We'll get down to consciousness later on. Really? You can cut almost the whole of your brain and still be conscious. You still be alive. Well, what about your consciousness here in the brain? Well, so this is another mystery. We're just laughing, and laughter is another kind of, yeah. Why do we laugh? Obviously, it's for social bonding. Yeah, it's for the release kind of some tension. And we also know that some of the animals also laugh. Yeah, kind of. And we think, what kind of funny noise is coming out? They're laughing. But when we also laugh, we also make some funny noises. And why does it even be present from the standpoint of evolution? Nobody knows. And then we also weep. See, I'm taking all these common experiences, what we undergo through. When we cry, oh my God. And when we are happy also we cry. When we are sad also we cry. The brain uses the same mechanisms, for crying and laughing. You keep on laughing and laughing and laughing loudly, and then you begin to cry. Yes. Why do we do that? Yeah, that's, we can say, okay, that's another form of social bonding, empathy, and all these things. But why? Nobody knows. What is laughter, and what is this idea of crying? Then we have something called we blush. It makes no sense. It gives us away. And yet, evolutionary, you're supposed to kind of protect yourself, but we give ourselves away every time. And we may try to appear deadpan, Yeah, but we know how we kind of advertise all these clues. This is also a form of a mystery. And then we are very trusting people. We are trusting machines. We trust things. We trust people. And we know we can't avert the dangers that also come in trusting. Yes, it's a perfectly human trait. It's there in creation, of course. But we are hit by a tendency to trust people. Dreams. Well, 1/3 of our life is spent in sleeping and dreaming. It makes no evolutionary sense, because when there are predators around, why should you sleep? Oh, well, but you know what? Evolution has kind of compensated a little with us snoring. You can snore. Hey, I'm alive. In case we don't dream or sleep, even for a couple of days, the first thing that happens is all your perceptions are going to get warped. They're going to get, you can say, distorted. Your thinking itself gets distorted. You will affect your health, and then it affects your sanity also. It's a very strange thing. 1/3 of our life is spent in dreaming and sleeping. And we have no control over our dreams. In fact, music and art and literature and all these are products from that subconsciousness. The very subconsciousness means, it is subconscious, we are not conscious. But it's a very dynamic place. And we have no control over our dreams. Of course, there is something called lucid dreaming, but it's very rare. But we operate there under our consciousness. The body is alive and well, and there's a kind of a rapid eye movement. You know that person is dreaming. It has all the signs of waking, yet that person is not conscious. What happens there? And when we go into deep sleep there, you are not there. Nothing is there. And yet, these dreams have been kind of studied. In fact, cultures have been evolved around this dreaming. Some cultures in the Pacific, this is central to their religion, dreaming. In fact, they love to dream. They eat and they go to sleep and they dream. These were the first intimations of something higher, and religions grasped at that. Yeah, even when you are here, you can kind of travel and you are something separate from your body. However, these dream interpretation, Freud of course has been dismissed for various reasons. So it is not just a storehouse of kind of bad things. All the good things also are there within that subconsciousness. And we dip into it for our own sanity. Your memory is consolidated. Your health, your health gets better when you sleep better. And there are a host of, you can say, significances for these dreams that we have, and sleep, of course. And yet, we hardly know anything about it. It's a perfect human experience. We know and we do not know. Hypnotism. Why does a person become hypnotized? It's real. Yeah. But when we go to sleep, just before you go to sleep, we go to a stage called a hypnagogic state. Hypnagogic. And it's a kind of a mild state of hypnotism. And when we emerge out of sleep into waking, we go to something called a hypnopompic state. People are subject to illusions, people are subject to hypnotism. How can a mind that has been kind of cultured and educated be subject to all these things? Yet it is. What acts on the mind? Another person's will? A suggestion? Can a suggestion take you off and make you do something that you don't want to? Yet the mind is subject to hypnotism. Even the strongest mind. In fact, Swami Vivekananda, after a couple of encounters with Sri Ramakrishna, so the third time he is saying, I am going to be careful. I am going to be aware. Because the moment he touches me, I get into a kind of a samadhi, ecstasy. So he was kind of containing himself, holding himself. And Sri Ramakrishna comes and just touches them and boom. Of course, there's a method. Even if you have a strong will, you can circumvent, an expert hypnotist can circumvent that will and hit you from back. And you won't be knowing, you are hypnotized. And you think, yeah, I'm okay. Biases. We are all biased people. Either for or against somebody. Something goes in and we kind of tend to think in those terms. Why does it happen? It's irrational. It lacks introspection, and we simply jump to the conclusions. We don't deliberate on facts or something, what we see. So these biases also which lead us to beliefs. Beliefs are integral to a human mind. Yes, we all have beliefs, either religious or secular or whatever. We are trying to make sense of this external world, and we grow up with certain beliefs or facts, and that molds our worldview. And it is these beliefs that have been the root of so much human misery, even today. Whether they are secular beliefs in a kind of utopia, or a belief in a kind of a flat earth. Yes, there are people who believe it. Contrary to all evidence, they will keep on believing. We have a friend in Hollywood. He believes, firmly convinced, that he was abducted by aliens, and they experimented with him, and they implanted some probe inside, and he's still moving around. He's saying, I'm kind of controlled by these aliens. I said, well, good for you. I tried my best to try to talk him out of this. It's impossible. Just impossible. Everything, and I kind of joking, how come all these aliens are coming out of this Area 51 in America? No, that's the place they first came to. Well, anyway. Yes, they simply do not see any reason in believing. It's a kind of a mental shorthand, you know. Okay, I mark this, I know this thing. And you dismiss of the rest. So we work through these beliefs. It's a kind of a framework of our mind. We understand everything through these biases and beliefs, which initially, yes, you need some belief to start. But as you grow up, you need to dismiss of. And science, take the finding of science. In fact, now scientists also now believe in many things, which is another irrationality. Yes, there's no belief system, it's hard facts. We want hard facts, and yet at the same time, we don't want to look at those hard facts. If the person is shown all the pictures of a earth that's round, you're not going to believe you. I believe in a flat earth, he's saying. Well, so much for beliefs. Life. Wow. Yeah, this has been kind of studied, and we study it in our own bodies. What is life? How did it emerge? Yeah, we have a lot of answers. We know about evolution. The whole universe is evolving. It's not only this biological evolution. Biological evolution is a part of the mighty evolution that's going on, churning out stars, and planets, and all these things. How did insensate matter spark into something called life? How did it happen? Yes, that's it. Even a cell in our body has mystified people. There is so much to understand, so much to learn, so much to discover. They are finding it impossible. One cell, and you've got trillions. It's very strange. And then we have something called, whether this life has evolved, whether it has come from another place. My friend would be happy if I say this. I say, he come from another place. Yeah, I told you so. But it is a fact that life, the processes of life, are a deep mystery. And we have been trying to unravel this mystery over there. And why does it appear and why does it disappear? No one knows. And when it disappears, we know what happens. death, is everything over? Everything is over for you, not for everything else. And there's life everywhere, in the water, in land, in the air. We are now in the midst of a mass extinction. Yes, amazing. And we are quiet, yes, okay, fine. Yes. What happens to all these life forms? They will kind of evolve or kind of generate new forms? We do not know. But it is everywhere. The plants and birds and bees and everything is alive. This planet is alive. And then we have this, all these cells in our body. What makes them they're each individuals. Yes, every cell is individual. It has its own individuality. It has its own quirks. It has its own probably beliefs also. We don't know. But they somehow combine and bring this kind of great symphony called life. Besides, when we come down to the microbiome, there are 10 bacteria to one cell in you. They outnumber you. They are everywhere. In fact, it's a bacteria that has created all forms of life, and it has crafted this world. What we see of the world today is made by bacteria. Simple as that. Why does a cell die? Nobody knows. Technically, it has been found that they took out sludge from a very deep part of the ocean, and the ocean has layers and layers of old microbial life, and they took some out and they found bacteria in it, and they were so thrilled, and they put it in a petri dish and gave it a lot of nutrients, and okay, fine, you start growing. And they weren't growing for years and years. Nothing was happening, and they were confused. What's happening? And they found they are vibrating, they are alive at a very, very low energy level. It will take centuries for them to process a little electricity or a little food. And yet they are alive. So why does this cell here die off so quickly? And that cell there can live for thousands and thousands of years. Yes. Well, that is another mystery. I think we've had enough of these mysteries. But then, the grandfather of all mysteries is the ego. Yes. Oh, what it is, we do not know. Where is it? Somewhere within. We feel it. It's somewhere within. But where exactly it is located, we do not know. It's so diffused. Besides, the ego has two faces. One is the public, the civilized face, and the one is the private. The private one could be deluding you. We do not know. It's so mystifying. The public ego also, public face of the ego, is a collection of different personality traits. It is not one. There's nothing one there. You have many traits within you. Your individuality is made of things that you've collected over the years. And this is what you are. Well, what exactly is this? Well, the ego. Yeah. I had a teacher who was saying, if you have an ego, you go. And the bigger your ego is, the more trouble you have. And the lesser your ego, the less trouble you have. But where exactly is it? How do I hold it? Or how do I chuck it out? It's not there. You tried searching it? Somewhere in the body, somewhere in the mind, somewhere in... what is this? Yet at the same time, we know that like Carl Jung says, there's a kind of a mask. The public side of the ego is like kind of a mask you put on. And he called it the persona. Yet at the same time, you feel you have an ego. Correspondingly, you have a feeling that you are more than your ego, your individuality. Somehow, this sense of ego has constrained your individuality. Yet the feeling of expansiveness does emerge. The ego is a product of, how do you say? Every one of us has an ego, obviously. So it is a kind of an extraction, an abstraction of everything that's common to everyone. So we have extracted some common elements in the universe and made it our own, you can say, existence. When you go to sleep, there is no ego. If you remember, you feel really good after you wake up, isn't it? That ego has been a kind of a constant thorn in your side. Though it is common to every one of us, it's everywhere. The sense of I. The whole universe is a kind of a prayer of I. I exist. I am. All life kind of speaks through it. It is so pervasive, yet we feel this is me. Why does something which is cosmic become an individual you? And you pin all your hopes and dreams and desires on this. And yet, it's like a phantom. Something like the phantom in the opera. Well, then we have something called the mind or consciousness. That is the final frontier, consciousness. Final frontier? No, you'll find there's plenty of things more to attain. It can't be the final frontier. We can kind of step towards larger and larger things, more expanded, but that cannot be the final frontier. I just mentioned that you can cut most of your brain and yet be alive and conscious. At the same time, consciousness can develop in two streams within you. Yes. How does it happen? Well, it does happen. When you cut all the nerves in the corpus callosum, separate the two hemispheres, consciousness develops in two streams. Very strange. And this is detail. The left side is detail. It's order. And the right side is kind of, it's a bed of potential. And what happens is, in case you get a stroke on this side, the boundaries are kind of dissolved. There seems to be a kind of a oceanic consciousness as well as an individual consciousness. And the individual consciousness simply disappears for a while, and you get in touch with a consciousness that's vast. Well, people have tried to replicate this with drugs, psychedelic drugs, and they're saying, I've seen this, I've seen that, and seen this. I tell them, even sensory deprivation can make you hallucinate, can get you. Dancing, extreme fasting, can give you visions of things that you may be kind of deluded about it. What is consciousness? It is you. Yes, we know it's you. You are conscious. But there are many things about you hardly know. That is another mystery that we say. It's like, we've been thrown out of the Garden of Eden. You try to get some knowledge, the tree of knowledge. The poor guy, Adam, he had to eat and he had to be thrown out, along with Eve, of course. And we are left out in this bewildering world. We are just bumbling about. We haven't really started to understand ourselves correctly. It's like we can see a few feet, but beyond that is gloom. We are making way through this kind of gloom. Then consciousness, we are conscious now of the present. But it's just a fraction and it becomes a past. It's almost 45 minutes since we started. Can you imagine? What's happening? 45 minutes have just gone past. We do not know anything much about our past. Not the immediate past. Now you know what I've been talking about, I hope. But the future is kind of tenuous. It's not there in your hand. And yet all our efforts are to understand what is the future. Astrology and psychics and mediums and this and that, they make money out of us. That stupid idea of we want to know the future. You can't know the future. Well, you can mold the future according to what you do in the present. But we are standing on a kind of small point. It's spotlit. And the rest is kind of the past, and the future is all over for us. It's kind of a closed book. So here we have this, and we make such a big thing out of our lives and out of our own individualities. And well, we are nothing but living on a small blue dot in an ocean of almost infinite proportions. How vast it is, you just can't imagine. It's staggering. And as the science tells us, it's expanding and expanding. Where's going? The current theories of creation have now dismissed the Big Bang. There's no bang. There was a huge expansion. Why did it happen? What made it happen? Nobody knows. Quantum fluctuations. Yes, this sensible world that we see is all dissolved in this quantum world. These things don't exist. This is an illusion. The quantum world, if what the quantum physicists say is true, then what we see is, this matter is solid, and yes, I can see. I can hit and I can, wow, I did. But this matter itself is an illusion. Yes, you get a spoonful of, you can say, matter from maybe from a white dwarf or anything like that, neutron star, and it will slip right through the earth and go out there. That matter is really solid, clumped together. And this matter is hollow. It's just empty space. But it's giving an illusion of solidity and everything. This whole thing might be a dream. And that's why we Vedantins, we get so happy when we hear all these things. This has been spoken of by our sages thousands and thousands of years ago. There is another reality which you are not in touch, not in tune with. You are chasing shadows. And as long as this is you can say, the state of human beings, like Swami Vivekananda says, we don't know whether we are waking or dreaming. We are this mystic twilight between this light and darkness. Where it meets, no one knows. We are walking in the mist and living in the midst of a haze. This is the faith of all sense knowledge, of all boasted science, of all boasted philosophy. This is the universe. You cannot say it is one, you cannot say it's many. This is human life. This is existence that we know, mystifying. And as long as the state of existence lasts, it will keep on eluding your understanding and deluding you also. So how do we demystify ourselves? Like, there's another way. Like, this is samsara. Yeah. There's constant coming and going and churning and churning. Every life is a kind of a movement in a circle. And then, what happens? Nothing. You keep on moving around in a circle. But where's the end? In a circle, there's no end. So this is samsara. And we have to get out of this samsara. Somehow, we have to break through. There was a king in ancient India called Ajatashatru. It comes in one of the sections of the Upanishad called Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. So a young scholar, he goes, I'll teach you a Brahman. Okay. And he gives a long discourse. And every time he's giving a discourse, the king stops him. Wait, that's inadequate. I meditate on Brahman as this. So after his long, you can say, attempt in trying to teach what is the reality, he keeps quiet. The king says, is that all? Saying yes. But you're not describing reality. Then the boy had a kind of a humility about him. Well, I approach you as a student. He's saying it's not according to form that you approach a king for knowledge. The king will approach you because they were in that class of people who were always cultivating this Vedic knowledge. But I'll teach you. So he takes him to a person who was sleeping. And he keeps on uttering those words that this young scholar had taught him about the reality. That man kept on sleeping. So the king shook him awake, saying, when this being was asleep, where was it? And the young scholar couldn't answer, he's saying. He keeps on, the long discourse, and he says, whatever you see in this world is truth. Prana is the truth. Life is truth. Whatever the manifestations of life, eating, drinking, sleeping, sex, all these things are manifestations of life. It's true, in a way, because we don't want to live in a kind of an place where we are not sure whether it's true or false. It's true. But there's another level of truth. He's saying, that is the truth of even this. Satyasya Satya. And that was the starting point. We need to get behind this mystification or this deep mystery, the deep secret about ourselves and of the world. And how do we do that? By plunging deep down within yourself. Swami Vivekananda says, my message indeed can be put in a few words. And that is to preach unto mankind its divinity. And how to make it manifest in every movement of life. This is the reality. Once you are in touch with your own divinity, everything stands explained. There is no more darkness. There is no more unknowable. You know the secret of the universe. You know the secret of yourself. It's a tremendous state of existence. And that is the goal of every human life. We stop moving around in circles and we plunge inside. And when you get down to your own reality, you'll see this reality everywhere. This is how you will have to demystify yourself. Tell yourself, tell your children, tell yourself day and night that I am by nature divine. I am behaving like a human being. Yes. The other day, I was coming to Santa Barbara, and on the way, saying, I don't know what, a lot of people wearing these, weird costumes. Not weird, but all these movie characters. Then somebody told me, actually, that's the Oscar down the bend. Oscar awards, of course. And people have kind of congregated in various costumes, I said, laughing, see, this has taken hold of them. Somebody thinks he's a Batman, somebody thinks he's a kind of Flash Gordon, somebody is Superman, and someone is a kind of something or the other. And we had various characters from cartoons to all these great movies, all characters all standing around smiling and doing nothing, laughing. And I said, see how they have lost themselves. They have not understood their own divinity. And they're putting on masks and making a great show of thing. So similarly, we also as human beings, we've put on a kind of a mask. And we are playing the part of our characters. Every character is fantastic, Yeah. We have forgotten this essential divinity. Swami Vivekananda says, if a king goes crazy and he says, he comes out of his palace and goes around saying, where's the king? Where's the king? Somebody is going to catch him and say, yeah, you are the king. Perchance he will wake up. And that is what Vedanta is preaching. You are by nature that reality, that truth, that is beyond all illusions, all fantasies, all mystery. This is the greatest secret, and it's an open secret, as Swami Vivekananda says. You are divine. And it ends its message there. You are divine. We just need, as Vedantins, we need to kind of remind ourselves that our real nature is beyond time, beyond space, beyond causation, beyond everything that you ever thought about or even imagined. You are that. That's the final word of Vedanta. Thou art that. Thou art that. There ends the mystery. There ends the fun. Oh no! The reality is the real fun. We are missing out on the real fun. We are really missing out on the real true joy and love and hope and trust. We are missing out on those things. Because we are just kind of moving on the surface. Once you understand this, then you will be the loving and trusting. Even when you go to sleep, you will go into samadhi. You won't go to sleep. When you dream, you'll dream some beautiful visions of gods and goddesses and all these things. It will transform you. And you will transform the world. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu. I forgot to mention, today it's a auspicious day also, because one of Sri Ramakrishna's disciples, Swami Adbhutananda, it's his birthday today. Adbhutananda means Adbhut, wonderful. And he really was wonderful. A simple soul who attained to the heights of spirituality. Simple by that faith, love for the Guru, trust, and hard work. Thank you. Priyatam Pundarikaksha Sarva Yagneshwaro Havi Tasmin Tushte Jagat Tushtam Priniti Prinitam Jagat. When the Lord of sacrifices is pleased, this whole world becomes pleased. So let us, through our prayers, through our work, through our thoughts and deeds, try to please that Lord which exists within you as the Lord of sacrifice. Let us offer everything that we have unto that Lord, and he or she being happy, we will be happy. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.